You stay out of that Quikrete, mister. Don't flip your tail at me. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Welcome back to the Product Spotlight series. I bet you guys thought I forgot about this. I didn't forget about it. It's just been a while. This right here in front of you is what I wanted to do next for Product Spotlight number 5. The Lock and Lube grease coupler. Now, this is more about locking grease couplers than the Lock and Lube in particular. I went with this one because I was looking at some others. I looked at one from Harbor Freight. I looked at one from Lincoln, which was sold at the same place where I got the Lock and Lube, jbtools.com. I'll put a link in the description if you want to go check it out. But I looked at that, and honestly, between all three, I figured the Lock and Lube, well, it looked the most robust. I think it looked like it had the best construction, and they specifically advertised a rebuild kit that came with it. I've never excuse me, let me find my words. I'm trying to get ahead of myself. I have never used the rebuild kit. I bought this back in May of 2025. It is now December of 2025. I have used the hell out of this thing. I love it. It's hands down one of my best purchases. Now, I mean, I've made some stinkers of purchases, not often. And I've made some good purchases, but this one in the top 5, it might even be in the top 3. This has saved me so much headache with greasing. All the stereotypical stuff you hear about the locking grease coupler, oh, it reduces mess, it saves time, and yeah, it absolutely does. It saves so much frustration, so much time, so much mess. I don't know that I've saved a hell of a lot of money in grease, but I've made a lot less mess to clean up later. It keeps the area around the things I'm greasing cleaner because it's not blasting grease out the sides, and it just makes life that much easier. And you know what? It makes it sort of enjoyable to grease equipment because with these quick couplers, I was having a hell of a time. The problem with these things is that after you make a handful of connections, even with a clean grease fitting, you make a handful of connections, they wear out, they don't want to stay on there, then you got to try and hold them on with one hand, and you got to find the sweet spot where they don't blast grease out the side, where you're trying to make the seal, and, the whole time you're trying to run your grease gun with one hand. It's a little easier with a pistol grip, sure, but you still got to hold the hose on there. You're trying to run the grease gun with one hand. It's almost always when you're in an awkward position, and it's hard to do. These just suck, and then you got to change them constantly. They run into money, all right? Before I switched from the quick coupler and I spent the money and got the Lock and Lube, I went on the internet and I looked, and because I said to myself, all right, you know what? I'm going through these quick couplers to Who Laid the Chunk. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe my fittings aren't clean enough. So I took extra time and I got all the grease fittings clean before I used the quick coupler. And that didn't they lasted a little longer, but not really. The internet said that these quick couplers are adjustable. This is knurled here, where you can turn it and you can close those jaws or open them up depending. And I thought, oh, okay, that's what I'm doing wrong. Well, the problem is these are closed all the way tight from the factory. That's the default setting. So the only thing you can do then is open them up, which doesn't do any good. Some places said that you could take this apart and flip the individual jaws around, put it back together, get some more life out of it. I tried that. Didn't work. Not sure if it was just not compatible, if it, wasn't a feature on the couplers I was using, because I'll admit I was using some cheaper ones. The Lumax brand is what is available around here, so that's what I was using. But even with doing all that, and, it's just, no, your grease fittings were old. You weren't getting a new excuse me, stumbling over my words again. The internet said that, oh, well, you're not going to have a good connection, a good seal if it's on an old fitting. You need to have good new fittings. Just replace your grease fitting and your coupler will last longer. Well, okay, here's the thing. Most of what we do around here on this farm, I'll grant you, is old equipment. It's got rusty, crusty grease fittings. Some of them have never seen grease from the previous owner, but this is a 2017 Kubota skid steer. The fittings on this are good. They're new fittings. I mean, they're not rusty. They've still got all the gold coloring on them and everything. There's nothing wrong with them. And every point on that needs to be greased takes grease easily. And I know that it does because with the new quick coupler, I hook up and I barely have to put any effort in to greasing. And so I knew that those were good. And even with those brand new and clean, these quick couplers still would not last. And I got tired of it. I read a couple places that said if you bought a higher end quick coupler, from the examples they gave were Lincoln, again, like this Lincoln, Parker, or another reputable brand. I don't know how many reputable brands there are in the grease coupler world. Apparently Lumax isn't one of them. This is a Lumax grease gun, though, just as an aside, this pistol grip one. This is a Cat, if you can believe it. Look at that. Caterpillar Pro L 8F9866, if you were curious. This is what I use most of the time. But they said if you got a better coupler, they'd last longer, they'd do better. But I thought, all right, you know what? Let's see how much those are, because the Lock and Lube was $36. And so I thought, okay, how many of these can I buy for the cost of one of these? Again, the price is at JB Tools. This Lock and Lube elsewhere is very expensive. But honestly, so are these. You go to Tractor Supply to buy a 6-pack of these, I think was $20 or $30. It was ridiculous. And why would I buy a pack of these that I know don't work worth a damn when I could just spend the money on this, and let's say this doesn't work any better? Okay, well, I'm not out that much money. Well, as it turns out, the Lock and Lube works much better. Pricing out getting quick couplers of a more reputable brand, it's hard to do that when you got a finger in a splint like that, you know. It equaled the same cost as just buying a damn lock and grease coupler. And like I said, I've never reused the rebuild kit on this. It has worked flawlessly. It works so good, actually, that the only complaint I have is that it's a little too big when you get into tight spaces. Small drive shafts on like a wet kit for a truck, those small drive lines that come off the pump that go to wherever, the gear case that hangs off the bottom of the transmission, then they got a small shaft that goes to the pump or whatever it's supposed to be running. This does not fit in those little U-joints very well. Steering shafts, it does not fit in those very well. Some steering gears on heavy-duty trucks, their grease point is set up in such a way that this doesn't work. Sometimes when you're on the ground, if your truck is low to the ground, if you're on a little hill or something, you can't always bend this enough and have enough room to get it like on the bottom of kingpins, tie rods, drag links, something like that. It's not the best for, but larger drive lines on trucks, tractors, pivot points, S-cams, slack adjusters. This does not always work good for slack adjusters because it just depends on the position of it. But sometimes you just get this on at an angle like that. If the slack adjuster has been greased regularly, you can get away with a not very good purchase with the Lock and Lube. Otherwise, you would be better off with one of these because they are lower profile. But 9 times out of 10, this Lock and Lube will do the job just fine. You can stick it on there if it's clean. You can stick it on there if it's dirty. You can stick it on there if it's old or new. It doesn't matter. As long as you get this on there where you can't pull it off, if that fitting can take grease, it will take grease. With this Lock and Lube, I can put it on there. I don't have to hold it. I can actually pressure this gun up to the point of not being able to run the handle anymore. In which case, the fitting I'm trying to grease is seized, and I either have to use this, or because this doesn't work on very, very stuck fittings, I'd have to take the whole joint apart and clean it, or use heat, and then try and shove grease through it. There are limits, but I could never do that with this style of coupler. I could never do that. It would always just give out and spray grease everywhere. There are some tough fittings on the tractors that we have, and they're always tough. It doesn't matter how often you give them grease. They always take grease hard, but I know that they will. If you start with a brand new quick coupler, you can put it on 1 or 2 of those, and it'll usually hold long enough for you to, get some grease in it. But with this thing, it doesn't matter. You just stick it on there and go. And you don't have to hold it. And it's just awesome. It makes life so much easier. It's always the little things in life that are a pain in the ass. So, 100% worth your money. I would recommend it. If you don't want to buy the Lock and Lube, and you buy another brand, I don't care. I'm not sponsored by Lock and Lube. I'm not sponsored by anybody except you guys for watching the video. But I would recommend this one in particular. I'm very pleased with it. They have a version that is a longer barrel. I've never had an occasion where I thought that was necessary, even doing something like a combine. This is enough. I think they have a low profile one. I don't recall off the top of my head. If they do, I'll put a link to the long barreled one and the short coupled one. This is the standard. I'll put a link to all that in the description. You can go check it out if you want. Now, the other thing I got, when I ordered this, I also ordered a longer hose for my grease gun here. This is an 18-inch versus a 12 that the gun came with. Heck of a good deal there. Really helps out a lot. The other thing that I ordered was this. And I ordered this because I thought it might come in handy, honestly. And it has. But like I said a minute ago, if you get a fitting that's really, really stuck, something that has not been greased in ages, or something that, just never would take grease at all, even a little bit, chances are this thing is not going to work. If you've never seen one of these, it's pretty simple. The way it works is it comes with a quick coupler. It comes with a flexible hose if you need it for a harder to reach fitting. You put all this together, and there's a piston in this tube. You take that piston out, and you fill it full of fluid. You put the piston back in, and then you take a hammer and you tap on it, and it's supposed to force that fluid through the joint and clear out any debris, stuck grease, anything that's in there that's stopping it from receiving lubricant. And like I said, this only really works if you've got something that is greased regularly, and then when you go to grease it at the next service, it just happens to be stuck. That's something you can likely free up with this. But something that sat for a long time or was never given grease at all, if it won't take it with the gun, you can always try the impact cleaner, but in my experience, it gives up pretty easy. So it is a limited use tool. I don't regret buying it. I do like it. I think it's a pretty heavy construction. But it's not the cure-all that you might think. Is about the best way I can think to put it. So I'll put a link to this in the description too if you want to buy it. I got this at JB Tools in addition to the other stuff here. So final verdict, again, Lock and Lube, best thing since sliced bread, 100% recommend it. What I will do, this is still going to be my main gun, but what I'm also going to do is get this thing cleaned up, because it's not here. I wiped it down the other day, but it's really sticky, so I need to clean it up and stuff. Probably get a longer hose for it. I will order in a pack of reputable quick couplers to keep on hand for this, and I will use this grease gun for the fittings that are really, really hard to get to. But again, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, this one is going to fit in and do just fine. So, that's it. That's pretty much all I got. So that's all I got. So I will get off of here. I appreciate you guys watching. Holiday season's coming up. This make a heck of a gift idea. If you are interested, maybe if you know someone that greases their equipment regularly, or maybe if you know someone who doesn't grease their equipment regularly and they need to, maybe grab them a grease gun and the Lock and Lube. Like, get them a whole kit, get them the lock and grease coupler, get them a grease gun, get them the impact fitting cleaner, and then send them a video link on how to grease stuff, because you would not believe the number of people, especially in agriculture, that do not grease anything. There are farmers around here with millions of dollars worth of equipment, and they have never used a grease gun in their life, and it would have saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars in repairs. It's ridiculous. All the old stuff we have around here, part of the reason it keeps running is because we grease it and adjust it and oil it. It's the most basic thing you can do to take care of your investment. So many people don't do it. But if you are doing it, bravo. You've set yourself apart from the mongrels. Might as well make your life easier if you're going to service stuff. All right. That's all. I'm going to go. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.